Why don't we say, if you're terrified and you don't want people to go back to work, you stay home? How about you stay home? How about you wear a mask? How about you order your food online? Why don't you stay home if you're scared? Why do I have to stay home because you're scared? Oh, don't give me the nonsense about the hospitals being they're overflowed nowhere but in Manhattan, where they have been overflowed for the last 10 years, okay? So, and they've even said that they're seeing less patients. So why don't you stay home? If you're watching this and you're going, we need to be responsible, why don't you stay under your tinfoil hat, okay? Stay in your house, stock up on toilet paper, and let the rest of us get to work. That is my question. I don't know that we're going to get an answer to all of this, but I do know that we're going to start seeing more than protests. We're going to start seeing riots soon if we are not allowed to go back to work and do what we do every single day. This is not the America that I grew up in. This is not the America that I ever want to live in, and neither should you if you really are a person that is pro-freedom. So let me give you just Whole Foods, what happened. In the first couple of weeks, Whole Foods was open for business. The next week, they instituted putting down these pads that said, please keep your social distance. So when you were in the market, you had to have when you were in line to pay at checkout, you had to keep a distance of 6 feet. Remember, it spread 6 feet from individuals. And I thought, okay, still not making much sense to me, but we're all walking around the market, but apparently once we're in line, we need to be 6 feet apart. Then the following week, they upped it again. And I'm one of those people that recycles bags at Whole Foods. And they had a new policy, which went into effect last week, which said that we had to pack our own bags. Made very little sense because I actually was then closer to the person that was working at Whole Foods because I had to be next to the bags in order to pack it and next to the products. But again, none of these increasingly erratic policies need to make sense. They just need to do something so that the people who are under tinfoil hats, people that do think that we're going to lose millions of Americans to this, feel comfortable because action is being taken, even if that action makes absolutely no sense. So today, mind you, I'm one of those people that goes to Whole Foods every other day. Sometimes every day might sound a little excessive, but I live very close to Whole Foods and I like to buy meat fresh and I love to cook. So I just will get inspired walking down the aisles, deciding what I want to get. I did no hoarding. I don't do mass buying ever. I buy what I need. And I have just lived my life normally and bought what was needed for 1 night, 2 nights, and then gone back when I decided what I wanted to eat the next day. That is just how I live. I am not a panicked person about this. I was surprised today to see that which they already had the measure of making us wait outside. That was another step they took, where they have blue lines outside where everyone has to be apart 6 feet, or else you can't even enter the store, and they count how many people in, how many people out, because they want even more distance. Today I go in and there's a police officer at the front and she looks extremely frustrated to even be there. It's not a good use of police officers' time. And I do feel bad for them. So this video is not at all a shot at police officers. I know we're seeing so many of these videos of them showing up at 1-year-old parties or showing up at grocery stores, but this is what they're being told to do. So they really are just doing their job, and some of them don't agree with what they're doing. And this police officer clearly did not agree with what she was doing. And somebody, a person in Whole Foods, was rattling at her saying, nobody's wiped down this cart. Like, Whole Foods is now spraying the carts when you come out because they want to have the appearance of being extra, extra clean, even though you go to any other supermarket and they're not doing that. So the police officer was like, I don't work here. I can't really help you with that. And me and my husband kind of slipped in under the radar, not knowing that they had just put in place a new measure beginning on Monday, which stipulated that you have to have masks on. I don't have a mask. I have not tried to buy a mask. I have not went to look for a mask. I have been outside. I have been running. I am not one of those people that you see dressed up in Muslim medical garb now that is covering every ounce of their faces. I have just been completely myself, and I don't have a mask, so I can't be required to put on something that I don't own. And so my husband and I realized that people were looking at us, but we're like, okay, you're allowed to be scared and wear a mask, but I don't think it's a requirement for every single person to freak out about wearing a mask. And the police officer comes up to us about 5 minutes into us being inside, and she's super frustrated, and she had masks, and she was like, you need to put on these masks. You know, you're lucky we don't take you out of here. And I'm like, what are we even talking about anymore? And apparently she said that they are now allowed to stipulate that you have to wear a mask or you're not allowed to be inside of the store. And that, to me, I cannot understand how that is constitutional. Somebody explain to me how that is legal. I tell people they cannot buy food at a grocery store unless they have a medical mask on, because 69 people have died in the city. Just so you understand how low that is, DC deaths have been going down every month. We had a certain amount of deaths in January, less deaths in February, and even less deaths in March. So there's no epidemic here. We are not New York City. There is no reason for us to be increasing. There have been no outbreaks in any of the regions that I just told you about. In the Columbia Heights, there's not been an outbreak in all of those bars and down 14th Street, which is where everybody hangs out and where everybody was hanging out. So they've been increasing the measures, and there's no empirical data which explains why they're increasing the measures. They're just deciding on more activities. Tomorrow you could wake up and they could say that it helps to hop on one foot and do the chicken dance, and everyone's going to have to start doing it, even though there's absolutely no reason. Again, there is no outbreak. People are not dying at a higher rate. So what is with this? What is with this policy? What we're seeing happen now is blatant tyranny. It is a quarantine when sick people are made to stay home. It is not a quarantine when healthy people are made to stay home. That is called tyranny. We are not being allowed our right to provide for our families. We are not being allowed our freedoms to go and to provide for our families. If we want to walk into a grocery store, we are being told what we have to wear. This is not normal. This actually makes no sense. And again, as I said, I go to different supermarkets. They're not doing this at all of them. They're not doing this at Harris Teeter on the other side of town. They aren't practicing any of these measures. But police officers said because the mayor put in place the policy that everyone has to wear a mask, they're just doing it. They're now enforcing it. No questions asked by the citizens of why. And we were pretty much like Sweden here in DC in terms of how low the death count has been and how slow the measures are that we've taken. So why are we increasingly allowing more absurd policies when we are seeing that outside of New York City, there just have not been that many deaths? You take out New York City, why doesn't Trump, if we're talking about a solution, why don't we say keep New York City locked down and let the rest of us get back to work? Why don't we say if you're terrified and you don't want people to go back to work, you stay home? How about you stay home? How about you wear a mask? How about you order your food online? Why don't you stay home if you're scared? Why do I have to stay home because you're scared? Oh, don't give me the nonsense about the hospitals being they're overflowed nowhere but in Manhattan, where they have been overflowed for the last 10 years, okay? So, and they've even said that they're seeing less patients. So why don't you stay home? If you're watching this and you're going, we need to be responsible, why don't you stay under your tinfoil hat, okay? Stay in your house, stock up on toilet paper, and let the rest of us get to work? That is my question. I don't know that we're going to get an answer to all of this, but I do know that we're going to start seeing more than protests. We're going to start seeing riots soon if we are not allowed to go back to work and do what we do every single day. This is not the America that I grew up in. This is not the America that I ever want to live in. And neither should you if you really are a person that is pro-freedom.